There are moments in life when the walls around us do not fall, not because they are too strong, but because we have not yet pushed. We often cry out for change. We plead for better days, for peace in our communities, for dignity in our homes. But too often we sit still, waiting for the storm to pass, forgetting that it is in the act of standing that we remind the storm who we are. Everything stays the same until you move. A man who waits for the path to clear will die on the same spot where he first dreamed. A nation that speaks of justice but does not lift its voice to demand it will find itself silenced by time. A heart that longs for love but fears risk will grow cold with years. We must move not only with our feet, but with our will. We must move with courage, even when we are uncertain. For action is the language of faith. It is not enough to believe. We must build. We must speak. We must rise. The truth is simple. No prison can hold a soul that has already moved. No fear can stop a people who walk with purpose. No injustice can survive when the righteous move against it. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for the stars to align. The power to change your life, your street, your country, it begins the moment you take a step. Let us move forward, not because the road is easy, but because we can no longer accept Let us be the hands that build, the voices that speak, and the hearts that move. Only then will the world begin to change, because everything stays the same until you move. There is a quiet pattern that haunts many lives, the repetition of the same problems over and over again. You find yourself waking up to the same disappointments, arguing the same arguments, and making the same promises to change. Yet nothing changes. It's as if life has placed you on a treadmill. You're moving, but never going forward. This cycle is not simply bad luck or coincidence. It is the natural result of remaining still while expecting motion. When we fail to take deliberate, bold steps away from habits, environments, or relationships that hold us back, we unconsciously choose to relive the same frustrations. Problems do not solve themselves. They settle deeper when ignored. Without intervention, personal, emotional, or strategic, they become like seasons that never end, looping endlessly until we take a different path or lift our eyes to see the exit we've always refused. What makes this repetition so dangerous is its ability to disguise itself as normal life. It becomes routine to be tired, expected to be disrespected, common to feel hopeless. And because these problems return wearing the same familiar clothes, we convince ourselves that this is just how life is. But life is not meant to be a circle of unresolved pain. The moment we recognize the pattern, truly see it, we hold the power to break it. But seeing is not enough. It requires movement. It requires courage to confront what we have tolerated, and wisdom to realize that comfort can be a cage. Change demands disruption, and when we finally move, when we act with intention, break the silence, make the hard decision, the cycle begins to break. The pattern shatters. We step, maybe trembling, into something new, and in that brave motion, life responds in kind. There is a subtle enemy of progress that hides in plain sight: comfort. It does not shout or demand, but quietly persuades us to stay where we are. We choose the familiar over the unknown, even when the familiar is slowly draining us. It is easier to keep a job that stifles your potential than to risk failure pursuing your passion. It is safer to remain silent in a broken relationship than to speak hard truths and seek healing. Growth asks us to stretch, to face discomfort, and often to walk into rooms where we are not yet confident. But many of us settle into routines that feel warm, even when they prevent our evolution. We confuse safety with peace, but safety without growth is just stagnation, wearing a smile. A tree that does not grow becomes brittle. A mind that does not stretch becomes dull. And a life that does not move becomes a shadow of what it was meant to be. It is important to understand that real transformation never happens in the comfort zone. Every meaningful breakthrough is born out of struggle, out of moments when we were forced to ask more of ourselves. The instinct to avoid discomfort is human, but we must not allow that instinct to become a prison. Comfort may feel like rest, but if we stay there too long, it becomes decay. We must dare to move even when we do not feel ready. We must say yes to the challenge that scares us, to the opportunity that demands more, to the calling that refuses to go away. When we choose growth, we may lose some comforts, but we gain something far greater, the truth of who we are becoming. And that truth can never be found in stillness. It is uncovered only by motion, only by risk, only by rising. When life refuses to change, many of us look outward. We point to the government, to our childhood, to our boss, to fate, and say, this is why I am stuck. And in some ways, we are not wrong. The world can be unfair, systems can be cruel, and history can leave deep scars. But the danger lies in staying there, in becoming so focused on what others have done or not done, that we forget the power of our own choices. Blame may feel justified, even therapeutic, but it does not move us. It does not rebuild. It does not liberate. It simply passes the responsibility and leaves us waiting for someone else to give us permission to grow. In truth, no one is coming to rescue us. We must rescue ourselves. Even if the chains were forged by others, only we can begin to break them by choosing action over complaint and ownership over resentment. To move forward, we must reclaim our agency. This does not mean ignoring injustice. It means refusing to let it define us. It means recognizing that while we may not control every condition around us, we are still the authors of our response. The moment we take one small step to educate ourselves, to organize, to heal, to forgive, to rise, the chains begin to loosen. We must stop waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect ally. Blame locks us in place, but responsibility opens the door. It is not always fair, but it is powerful. And power, when claimed with integrity, becomes a force that transforms lives. So we must stop looking only outward for change and begin looking inward, asking, what can I do with what I have right now? That is where movement begins. That is where cycles end. There is a certain romance in dreaming. We imagine a better life, a freer world, a version of ourselves that has conquered fear and doubt. But too often, those dreams remain untouched, sitting quietly in the back of our minds, waiting for the right time. We tell ourselves we'll begin next month, next year, when the children are older, when the money is better, when we're less afraid. But dreams without action are just and fantasies, no matter how beautiful, do not build a new future. Without deadlines, intentions fade. Without commitment, passion rusts. A dream becomes a burden when it is carried too long without movement. It begins to haunt instead of inspire. And still we wait, and life, unforgiving in its pace, continues without us. The truth is, there will never be a perfect time. Life will always present reasons to pause, to delay, to postpone what your heart already knows you must do. But those who build the life they imagined are not those with more time or fewer problems. They are simply the ones who started, even with trembling hands, even with imperfect plans. To move a dream from your heart into the world requires discipline, sacrifice, and courage. It requires that you set dates, make promises, and hold yourself accountable. You must act, not just imagine. Plan, not just wish. Begin, not just intend. Because time does not wait for the dreamer. It answers to the doer. And when you finally decide to move, to turn your vision into steps, the world, which once seemed silent, begins to respond.